welcome back to the Tea and a Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And today's episode, well, to begin to kick things off, we're gonna, if you can hear a noise,
Yeah.
it's our fan. It's 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
And we're not turning
today,
it off.
and we're not turning it off because it's just very, very hot out there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so if you hear a little bit of a noise of
we're practically naked.
whirring or whatever.
Whirring or any stuff, we apologize in advance.
But deal with it.
We cannot turn it off because it just, if we turn it off, we melt. We'd melt and we couldn't breathe, and it'd just wouldn't be a very good podcast. Or it might be. You never know. But we're going to be revealing today the winner of the Ultimate Chocolate Bar Contest.
The Ultimate
World Cup of Chocolate Bar
Contest.
The World Cup of Chocolate, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk a bit about the Platinum Jubilee.
Oh, yes, we have to.
Yeah. It's just finished.
Sorry if you were tuning in and you're all excited. You'll have to wait until
the end. We're going to make you wait. We're going to make you suffer.
Yeah.
As if we had to turn the fan off on you.
This is interesting stuff, though, so stick around.
Yes, it is interesting stuff because we've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unpack.
70 years on the throne.
70 bloody years,
Yeah.
I mean, we watched some of it.
Mm-hmm.
We watched some of it from live streams on YouTube, but then we VPN'd the party at the palace.
Yeah.
We watched live on BBC One.
Yeah.
Which was a little treat in itself for you, wasn't it? Because we didn't know what we were going to expect.
Yeah.
Because we looked at the lineup, we were like, oh, we don't know some of these names because we're getting old.
Yeah.
God, like who's Rod Stewart? Who's Elton John? What are these kids listening to these days?
Yeah. But first of all, before we get to that, the first event was, what was it? The planes and everything flying over?
The flyover, yeah.
That happened on Thursday.
That was kind of like the opening ceremony.
Because in Britain,
Trooping the Colour,
they decided they were going to have a 4-day weekend in honor of this Jubilee. I think we mentioned it in the previous podcast where we were talking about the Queen's Jubilee. But, so everybody got the day off.
Well, they got 2 days off.
Well, yeah. And the royal family came out on the balcony without Harry and Meghan.
Harry and Meghan weren't there. Harry and Meghan only did 2 events.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
The royal family came out without them. I think, what's her name?
No, I think it was one event, actually.
Princess Anne was there, right?
Yes.
And
Anne,
the Queen's
Charles,
cousin.
Yeah, the
Duke of Kent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it was not a small gathering of the royal family. It wasn't the immediate heirs to the throne only. It was like the royal family. So it was a little bit awkward that...
Well, it was a little bit awkward, but at the end of the day, they're no longer working royals.
Yeah.
They don't want to be part of the... I think they did. I think Harry did want to be part of the celebration. I think he did want to be on.
To honor his grandmother. You have to wonder, were they in Buckingham Palace? And they just didn't get to go out on the balcony?
Apparently they were there. Yeah.
Were they sitting in there on one of the sofas? And they're like, no, you guys stay there. If you step 1 foot through this door, we will tackle you to the ground.
Yeah, no, probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was that at the flyover. Mm-hmm. Then that was the flyover of and they did a really cool thing with the red arrows and making out the 70 and everything.
Yeah. The star though, before you, because I think you want to talk about Harry and Meghan.
Harry and Meg. Has and Megs.
Before we get to that though, because we watched that part, we'd already missed it. Yeah. Yeah. Because time difference.
Waking up in the morning.
Yeah. So we watched that on YouTube or something.
A little bit later on,
Later. And we had already seen, or Dominic had seen anyway, that apparently the star of the show was Louis.
Louis, the youngest child of William and Kate.
Yeah. And so when we watched it, it was pretty cute.
This was their first kind of... this was their introduction, to royal way of life.
Louis, you mean?
Louis and... George and Charlotte too.
Well, I think they've been at some events before.
They have, but this is like their first official kind of like, okay, you're now working members of the royal family.
Oh, I don't know. We've seen them plenty. They always make George wear the little like business suit and everything. No,
but this is like their first.
But this was definitely
like,
Louis.
Everybody's like, yeah, this is it.
But this was definitely Louis because he's only 4, so they didn't really have events and stuff during COVID and all of that. So this was probably like definitely his first like kind of.
This was his first major one.
Yeah. So it was funny to see them out on the balcony. He didn't really seem fazed by all the thousands of people out in the in the street and down the mall and everything. And he did like I seem to remember Charlotte and George both did the same thing
because in the flyover, because it's a low flyover and you've got like 5 or 6 planes coming over and it's like woo in like succession, you know, and so it's loud on the balcony because they're higher up towards it, so it's just like
the kids put their hands over their ears and he had his hands over his ears and sometimes. And
he was going, whoa!
Yeah, the photographer snapped him kind of he looked like he was like screaming. Basically, he had his hands over his ears and he's kind of going, like that.
And there was, and he's turning around talking to the Queen
all the time, yeah.
And she's just there going, oh, yeah,
Yeah, that was really sweet, wasn't
Kate,
it?
of course, was trying to cajole him into things.
Because he was, like, really, like, bored, like, leaning on the edge of the balcony with both his little elbows and everything, and you could see her, like, just kind of pull him back, like, no, we're not going to do that. But it was quite sweet, yeah. He kept turning and asking the Queen things, like, oh...
Yeah, she was talking to him.
We were kind of making fun, like, he's going, oh, all these people here are here for you, are they?
It's like, oh, what's this? Yeah.
This is all for you. And she's just like, yeah.
So there was that on that day, and then there was like the lighting of the official beacons around the UK and the Commonwealth and everything.
Which right after that, she went
to Windsor Castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody was like, okay, she's gonna miss. She missed pretty much all of it.
Yeah. It was a little bit like, ooh, because she's 96 after all, but she looked good. She looked strong. She looked all right.
She looked all right. She just,
she just can't be bothered now.
Can't be bothered now, and I think it's, because Philip isn't there.
Yeah.
So Philip isn't doing this with her, and she's on her own. And there's also
depressing.
A lot of controversy surrounding the family at the moment.
Oh, yeah. That was somebody else that wasn't there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew and his kids were not on the balcony.
No, he tested positive for COVID-19, so...
Yeah, conveniently.
Conveniently, yes. And of course then there's Harry and Meghan creating a drama when they come over.
Yeah.
And they just quietly came for the service at Westminster. Oh no, it was at St. Paul's.
Yes.
St. Paul's Cathedral, they did the
that was
service
like that.
there.
That was the next day.
Yeah, the next day.
So the Queen did come out, though, even though she was at Windsor Castle, she did come out and light the beacon.
Yeah, she did come out and light the beacon,
and then
that
was it.
She went to bed. She went back to bed. Bit of a rough one it was,
So then the next day, the service at St. Paul's was what?
It was a Thanksgiving service.
Yeah, they didn't even televise that, did they?
Yeah, they did.
It's funny because I can just
They televised all the major events.
Okay, well, we didn't watch that.
We just watched them leave.
Yeah.
And go to the civic luncheon at the Guildhall.
We saw them arrive, first of all, didn't
no,
we?
We didn't.
Only saw them leave?
We only saw them leave after the service, yeah.
I thought we watched them arrive because first Boris arrived and he got booed, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, we watched that later on. We watched like a thing, yeah.
So we watched everybody arriving to the cathedral, and Boris Johnson, who is the Prime Minister of Great Britain.
Boris Johnson and his wife, Carrie Simons.
Yeah, they got out of their car and they're walking up the steps of St. Paul's, and all you can hear is like a boos. Really loud chorus of boos.
They've gone back and forth over that as well. People going, oh, there were some cheers and there was some boos. And then,
there were some cheers.
And some people going, oh, well, it was mostly boos.
It was mostly boos.
It was mostly cheers,
It was like if you heard it.
And when Harry and Meghan turned up, it was like some boos and some cheers,
The
too.
funny thing about when Harry and Meghan got there, you guys, if you didn't watch it, you could hear people booing, but then the bells started going, almost instantly.
Yeah, they started ringing those bells.
And so you could still hear the boos just a little bit, but the bells were louder. But apparently, according to people who were there, everybody was booing just as much as they were for Boris.
Yeah.
Which is really, come on.
Boris has just narrowly won a vote of confidence from the MPs.
Oh, yeah, when was that?
That was today.
Oh, yeah. Did they do it just because of all the booze he got?
No, they've been shaping up for they've been gearing up for this for a few weeks now.
Mm.
But there's a large rebellion in the Tory party against him. 150 or so MPs in the Tory party have no confidence in him. But he's managed to scrape by again. Yeah. And of course it's moving on and,
Boris...
business as usual. Let's get back to the business.
This is a bit off topic, but speaking of COVID, a lot of the controversy around Boris is because he was having parties at Downing Street.
Yeah, there's that. And he's broken the law,
The law meaning?
The law.
Just the law, all of them in general.
All of them in general. No, he's broken the law regarding some stuff, and he's misled MPs, which is in effect breaking the law too.
Yeah.
So that's why
but the general public
on by the skin of his teeth.
The general public, they think he's a buffoon.
He's had worse reviews than Theresa May and the vote that brought down Thatcher.
Oh, yeah?
So, this was... And, but he's just managed to scrape by.
Yeah.
And so it's, moving on now. We can get back to this. And, it was, decisive.
Yeah. People were criticizing...
A general election should knock him out of there. Knock the Tories out, at least.
I appreciate the way it works in Britain because having such a large crowd boo you is enough for somebody to go, oh, look, the public doesn't want him in there anymore. We should see if maybe we think about getting rid of him, Yeah. I wish that would happen over here, but no, we don't get a new one until, 4 years is up.
Oh, that's, 4 years, that's the kind of thing. With the Prime Minister, you see, they can decide whether they want to call one or... general elections every 5 years or
so. The Queen can call one, though, also, can't she?
Yeah, they say that, but she's never going to do that unless it's, really, really bad.
You guys, there's kids outside our window screaming, I don't know.
Booing for Boris.
If you hear them, I apologize. Yeah. We've just got all kinds of things happening today.
Yeah, it's the neighbors. We have neighbors.
Yeah. We have neighbors and no soundproofing in this room, so what are you going to do?
But yes.
But yeah, so there was booing for Boris, there was booing for Harry and Meghan. Google New York Post Harry and Meghan Jubilee article. I don't know what the title of it was, but I saw it somewhere and I clicked on it and I read it, and you guys...
It was pretty scathing, wasn't it?
Very scathing. I couldn't really believe it.
Yeah.
You would think that the writer of it must have had something personal against them. It's
maybe.
Just
it's like Piers Morgan and Meghan Markle, he had a grudge against her.
Well, considering the fact that it was New York Post, I don't really think that people dislike them that strongly over here in general. I think people don't really care. Yeah. So I was like, wow, this sounds like something you would have read, I don't know, in some British newspaper.
Yeah.
It was really hardcore, and it was just like, oh, send them running back to Montecito, and that was literally the only event they were seen at, wasn't it?
The only event they were seen at. They weren't even at Party at the Palace or anything like that.
Well, they didn't go even to the lunch after that.
No, they went back to Frogmore, apparently.
Yeah.
And they hid out there, and then they left to go back to the US.
Apparently, according to this article anyway, they said something about that there had been a deal that they wouldn't be anywhere where they could be photographed with any other members of the royal family. So I guess that's why, they came in.
At the Thanksgiving service, they were in the second row on the other side.
Across the aisle. Yeah, with like, I don't know, the cousins.
And like the
yeah.
The married intos,
yeah, it was very, very like awkward.
And I mean, well, to be fair to them, they've asked for that. They asked for that, They've made their position clear, and it's kind of like, he's saying, "Oh yeah, we still Skype with the Queen, my grandmother, and but as far as everyone figures now, that the rift is with William and with Charles."
Yeah.
And, it's kind of like, he's made his bed, he's going to lie in it now, And people can blame Meghan all they like, but...
Yeah. And you said you saw somewhere, or was it in that article also, that they thought he was coming over just to get more material for
That's what everyone's
tell-all.
Been saying, that's what everyone's saying, oh yeah, he's...
He accepted the invite.
He accepted the invite just to get more material for his tell-all memoir book that he's going to put out soon. And it's like, yeah, that's why, there's nothing really there. And it's like, the way this is kind of played out, it's kind of looking like the Duke of Windsor and Wallis Simpson.
Yeah.
They sit in their Montecito mansion going, oh, terrible people. Oh, they're all terrible. And they're all, oh, yes.
Calling Charlotte Shirley Temple,
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, Louis, just being like rather terrible,
Yeah.
about them. That's what they're kind of like making them out to be. Mm-hmm. And then they come and they're just like, oh, yes. And they're expecting a seat at the table now,
Yeah.
Or giving money or whatever,
and they're expecting like the public to revere them and like cheer for them and stuff. I don't know. So that there was that. That was all that happened on Friday, right?
That was all that happened on Friday. Yes.
So then we went into Saturday, and I think the big event on Saturday was
the party at the palace. Yeah, which was kicked off by Queen and Adam Lambert.
Mm-hmm. And you were not impressed.
I mean, yeah, it was a little bit of a lackluster performance.
It was very lackluster, I do agree.
But it's like, at the same time, it was kind of like nerves on their part, I think. Well,
yeah, and I mean, Adam Lambert's not Freddie Mercury,
no, that's true.
But I remember him from American Idol, and he was quite a powerful, like, dramatic performer from what I can recall, and you just didn't really see any of that.
They're on tour in the UK right now, Queen, with Adam Lambert.
Brian May was definitely like the star of that that show as far as I was concerned. Yeah. Who else performed? I don't know. There were so many people that we didn't know who they were, you guys.
I mean, it was the party at the palace was kicked off musically by Queen and Adam Lambert, but the opening sequence was possibly your favorite of all time.
Oh yes,
yes. You wanted to talk about it.
The entire weekend, this was the best part of the entire Queen Jubilee festivities, whatever you want to call it. Okay, yeah, you can tell.
I mean, yeah, because they started.
I think we put it on Instagram, so if you guys follow us on Instagram, you've seen it. If you follow the Royals at all, you've seen it. But
they kick off like, oh, the set list and everything, and there's going to be many more surprises, and this was a little surprise.
Yeah,
and they used it to open the show. They had Simon Farnaby, and they had this like. Coming in with this teapot with a tea cozy and stuff like that, and sat down, and it was Paddington.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, it's Paddington. Oh, cute. And then it cut to the actual Queen.
Yeah, he's sitting at the table with the Queen.
Yeah, and offering. He says, "Oh, do you want some tea?" Mm-hmm. And then he drinks it from the teapot. Like he's done that. He did that in one of the films.
Yeah.
And of course, then he offers her some, and she's like. There's only a little drop left. And she's like, never mind. And he's like, oh, and he does his Paddington thing and squishes the cake or whatever. And the scones
or cream.
Cream goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And so he goes, oh, well, would you like a marmalade sandwich? I always keep one in my hat for emergencies. And of course, then that sets up, she goes, so do I. I keep mine in here for later in her purse.
Yeah,
because everybody's going on about what's in her purse.
Now
the question's been finally answered.
I always say, like, even in the Crown, you know, she meets with the Prime Minister. She's always got her little purse with her.
And what is in that purse?
And it's just like, what does she need? What is she carrying around in that purse? You know, like, what in God's name does she have in that purse? It's always kind of like a little joke for me and Dominic. We're always going on about her purse, you know. So for her to pull that purse out and pull a marmalade sandwich out of her purse, I was like, that is it.
That is it.
That is absolutely it.
I can go home now. Goodbye.
Yes. It was so good. Like, it just could not have been any better. And she grins, and it's just the cutest little...
Yeah. I've just got to wonder who was, like... It must have been a kid acting, you know, for the live action bit. For her to be reacting the way she did, you know?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously the bear is
CGI. You never see her grin so big like that with teeth and everything. Like, she just had the biggest, cutest little grin. You just want to squish your face.
But yeah, so she was like...
And so they start the doon,
you know.
Dun. And so she and Paddington are, like, tapping on their
cup and saucer.
Yeah,
yeah.
Dun,
as if they're in the palace, you know.
For Queen. Yeah. But I mean, she was still at Windsor.
She was 20 miles away at Windsor. Yeah, because I mean, they had a selection of acts. They had Queen, then they had Lee Mack, the comedian, was emceeing.
I think we only saw him once, though.
We only saw him once, and he just announced the acts, you know. I can't remember who else was on.
Oh, look it up.
Diversity was on. They did a cute.
I'll tell you what, the performances that were like had other visual elements to them, they were the best performances.
Yeah, I
really,
think so. Yeah,
as opposed to the ones that just got out there.
Elbow was a little bit. It was like, you know, elbow.
Oh yeah,
his was a little bit dreary, and I'm just like, okay, you know.
And the girl who sang "What a Wonderful World" sounded off.
Celeste,
I don't know. We were wondering if they were having problems with
the sound. Yeah. I think there was sound problems, and I think there might have been a couple of miming situations going on.
Yeah, everybody on Twitter was like, "Oh, Diana Ross is miming." Yeah,
Diana Ross closed the show. Elton John wasn't even there. He was at Windsor Castle.
That was unbelievable.
And so they had this...
I couldn't believe that I didn't see more people going, are you kidding? They made such a big deal about the fact that he was going to be there.
You know, he says, I'll record this at Windsor Castle, and they projected it onto the thing. So maybe it was live. Maybe he was at Windsor Castle with her just then.
Hanging out with the Queen. Yeah.
Maybe. And he sang it, you know.
Maybe so.
But I doubt it.
Yeah,
you know,
he only did the one song.
He only did the one song, and that was it. Rod Stewart came out, and he did his hits that Erica had never heard of.
Yeah, it's so funny, you guys. Like, Diana Ross, too. Like, these are people that, you know, are famous in America as well. But
Diana Ross turned up and did her last hit.
They have almost like an entirely different set of songs that are hits in the UK as opposed to in America. You know, it's like, unless you're like a really hardcore fan, you've probably never heard those songs, you know. I guess they're like deep cuts on records over here,
maybe,
you know.
Yeah.
But they were huge in the UK.
Diana Ross turned up, got out, and she was helped onto the stage and everything, you know, and then she did Chain Reaction. And I was thinking, oh, she sounds great. She sounds really great.
Yeah. She looks good. She looks great.
She sounds really great. And, you know, she was doing Chain Reaction, and you were like, oh, I don't know this song. I was like, oh, this was a hit in the 80s for her.
Yeah.
And then she did Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we know that song.
Yeah. But Chain Reaction was like one of the things. But yeah, and she was doing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I started to figure, oh, wait, is she miming? Because she was going, you know, hey, into the microphone like at people, and they were trying to cut back to the live mic. And then they blended the vocal that she was doing, and she sounded a bit off. And it's just like, yeah, they can't hear themselves. You know, it's like, because they're in open air, they're in, you know, they're outside the gates, you know, it's like the monitors must be faulty, you know, there's a lot of, like, technological screw-ups here, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it was a great show. It was an abrupt ending. Yeah. It was just like, oh, yeah, as soon as Diana said, okay, see you later, everyone, boom. It just ended, the whole thing ended.
Yeah, it was.
Charles gave a speech. William gave a speech,
and both of them were really good.
Charles talked about his mummy.
Charles did his for the people in the cheap seats joke that he did at, you know, when, I don't know, what was it? Was it at the Gold Jubilee?
It was at the Gold. It was a Diamond.
Or the Diamond Jubilee when Philip was in the hospital, sick in the hospital, apparently.
And he was like, if we can just shout loud enough, Windsor's but 20 miles away, she can hear us, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, oh, yes, if we just shout loud enough, Philip will hear us. He's in hospital across the town.
Yeah, and so everybody's cheering. It was kind of funny to hear him go, louder!
Louder, peasants, louder!
Yeah, Dominic said, louder, peasants.
And then he said something about, she'll be watching this at home if she's, you know, finished her marmalade sandwich. And,
oh, yeah. Yeah, it was cute. Anyway, so that was that. They kept cutting back to the royals in the royal box.
Yeah.
And George just looks so bored there, sitting next to William the whole time. He's just like, who are these people?
Who are these people? Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything, you know, they might have tried to get a couple of acts that they knew, but...
he was singing along with,
Sweet
you
Caroline
could tell.
When Rod Stewart...
He
knew that was
one.
Another one that threw you.
Yeah.
Because he was just like, what is this? And it's
I
just
was like, why is Rod Stewart singing Sweet Caroline?
It's a football anthem.
Yeah.
And it's become very popular in Britain, just, you know, as a thing. And that's one, you know, Sweet Caroline, you know.
Yeah, George got well into that one.
Because everyone could wave the flags, you know.
And then the next day they did the pageant, which they called a pageant. It was basically a parade.
They had the golden carriage with a hologram of the Queen from 1953 from her coronation.
Yeah, which I think Dominic predicted in a previous podcast.
Yeah, I did. It's probably going to be one of those, you know, like they were talking about, from her reign and everything. I was like, they're going to have a hologram in the carriage, aren't they? And they did, you know. And
it was cute.
Okay. Then they had like a selection of like, you know, bicyclists and motorbikes, and then old cars, old Morris Minors. Mm-hmm. Then celebrities on buses.
Yeah, we didn't
and
even
the armed forces going through.
We haven't even quite finished it yet. We watched part of it last night, and we had a very busy day yesterday. So we watched part of it. We'll probably watch the other part tonight. But what we saw, it was really good.
The classic one is the, you know, because they got live streams. They got streams on the royal box, and apparently Louis wasn't having any of it.
Oh yes.
He was getting tired and grumpy.
Yeah, you could see on Kate's face, too. She was just like, oh, no, it's going to be one of those days. And William's way over there, you know, because the other two kids are in between.
Yeah. And, you know, Louis wasn't having any of it. You know, he was just going, water and stuff in...
He put his hand over her mouth at one point, you guys, like as if to shut her up. I was like, my jaw just dropped. I was like, oh my God. And I think he did the classic, like, little kid, like where you put your thumb on your nose and you pull it up and sort of wiggle your fingers and stick your tongue out. He did that at her twice. I was like, oh my.
And then he was just kind of going, at her, you know, and he was like, and he was like,
oh my God.
And she was just trying to she was trying to be like, you know, because she knew cameras were on them.
Yes.
It's like,
she kept going, oh, look over there. Oh, here, you want to get your little bag. I guess he had like a little bag of snacks or toys or something like you do with a little kid at an event.
Because he's what, 4, 5?
Yeah, he's 4, I think.
Yeah.
And so she's like, here, your bag, get in there and see what you can find. You know, like, God. And he was like totally turned around in his seat talking to like one of his cousins behind them and stuff. And she just kept like kind of patting him on the butt like, okay, you need to turn around now, like
watch, yeah.
Oh God, because the thing is she would have gotten in trouble for that, wouldn't she? Not him. She would have gotten in trouble for his behavior, for not being able to control him and make him sit there properly, you know?
I mean, what, by the court of public opinion?
Oh, No, the court of public opinion is going to be like, I mean, I don't even have any kids, and they're just like, they would have been like, oh yeah, that's classic little kid,
Yeah.
But no, probably the mustaches in the palace and,
Oh,
whoever.
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, but they would have been able to be like, oh, he's being,
Yeah.
They would have hopefully been a bit sympathetic towards her,
Oh
Because
my
it's like
God.
that one time when
it humanizes them,
Charlotte
doesn't it?
got mad and threw herself down on the tarmac and all that.
Yes, she
stuff,
refused to get on the plane, helicopter, whatever it was. She literally just threw herself on the ground and was like, no. Oh my gosh, yeah.
But she was always like one of those things, there was like a bunch of photographers filming them go into some place. And she was like, she goes, oh, we're going in here now. She says, and you're all not allowed to come in.
Yeah, you can't come.
You can't come. And they all just kind of laughed,
I think maybe that was Harry and Meghan's wedding. Or
something, yeah. It was some kind of event they had to go to.
Or maybe Philip's funeral. I don't know. I mean, she was old enough to talk. She's only like 7, I think, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so it was all very interesting. They did all come out again at the end, including the Queen, and wave
at the pageant.
At
yeah. Well, it was just her, Charles, William, Kate, and the kids.
Just the heirs, yeah. Just the heirs to the throne. Yeah, that
the ones
time
in the immediate line of fire.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I think it was like
it's a good celebration.
It was a good celebration,
Oh, another thing that we watched through our VPN was apparently for these celebrations, Charles and Camilla made a special appearance on
EastEnders.
EastEnders
with Danny Dyer.
It was really cute. I thought it was really cute, actually.
I mean, yeah, it worked out. They did their bit.
EastEnders is a British soap opera for anyone who doesn't know.
It's the most acting they've ever done because I mean the BBC had the official broadcast rights to the Jubilee.
Yeah.
I don't know if a bidding war went up for it, or they just let the BBC do it, or
acting. But Dominic and I were saying, they don't even realize that this is a show, that this is a scripted show. They just think they're just meeting people like they always do.
And it's just like, and it was kind of like, and that was probably the brief. It was just like talk to them as if you were like talking to anyone in a London borough. You know?
Yeah.
Like you're doing a little walkabout here,
Yeah, because they have to do that kind of stuff all the time.
And it's just kind of like, there was a joke with like Rudolph Walker's character. And, and I haven't seen EastEnders in years, and I've seen all these popular, familiar faces from shows gone by turning up, that acting in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what have they been doing all this time? Oh, they're on EastEnders now, apparently. Rudolph Walker's character had a bit of rum or something because they were having a street party, and it was all
for the Jubilee. It was Jubilee themed. Yeah, the episode was.
And there was a joke about Brian Connolly's character was like, he thought he was booking lookalikes of Charles and Camilla to turn up
to host the thing or something.
To host the thing, to judge the thing. Yeah, and they turned up and they were just like, oh, yeah,
he was like, what are they doing over there? Look at them.
What are they doing over there? They're not supposed to be over there. They're supposed to be over here with us. It's just like, they're actually the real deal.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, no, you just think that. You think they're really good. They look like you just think they're the real ones.
And
so the police officer wasn't going to let him in then because she's just like, oh God, he's a nutcase.
He's dressed in his Union Jack freaking suit and everything. It's like, get him away from here. But no, it's like, it was funny because, they had little jokes like, oh, Camilla, like, oh yeah, pour me some of that rum, and Charles, like, oh, I thought you'd never ask, and all this kind of stuff,
It was cute.
I think they did, they managed to shoot it pretty well because since they're not actors.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I don't know how they got away with it actually, because I mean, you've got to be in a union to like say lines and stuff. Because before,
that was probably it. They didn't write them the lines they said.
They didn't. Well, they prompted them. They probably prompted them a couple of times and said, "Oh, just say this and say that." Charles has been on Coronation Street in the background as an extra.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that was years ago. That was like 25 years ago.
That is so weird.
You know, in the Rover's Return, and it would have been either Emmerdale or Coronation Street that would have got them if ITV had been the broadcaster. They would have made an appearance on there. And it's just kind of like they probably offered it to William and Kate. They were probably hoping, William and Kate will do it.
Yeah. But I think it was funnier to have Charles and Camilla.
It wouldn't have been good for William and Kate to do it, because that would have been looked like they were trying to like outdo Harry and Meghan, because Meghan's the actress.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Oh, jeez.
And, you know, it would have been better if Harry and Meghan turned up. It was like, whoa, yeah. Saw that Jubilee lark. I'm coming down to Walford.
Oh my gosh.
For a street party. But yes,
anyway,
I think we'll
get to the part that you're all stayed tuned in for.
Yes.
So, back in, what was it, at the first of the month?
Back in the day.
The 1st of May, for anyone who does not follow us on social media, we started this chocolate bar competition. We decided...
Chocolate World Cup, it was.
we wanted to just have a little bit of fun, to be honest.
Bit of fun.
Obviously, it's not that serious.
It is very serious.
Depending on who you ask, yeah. Some of the messages we received throughout the month. We just wanted to see whose chocolate's better.
Chocolate's better?
British chocolate or American chocolate?
British chocolate or American
chocolate. So we started out an American bracket of chocolate bars. We asked everybody to send us in their favorite chocolate bars, British and American. And then we did an American bracket and came up with a winner of the ultimate American chocolate bar. And that ended up being Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, which I was shocked by, to be honest.
I don't know why. I think that works.
You don't know why I was shocked?
Yeah, I think
I was sure it was going to be Snickers.
Peanut butter is very popular over here. It's like in everything.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it...
And if I think about it, all I see when I go into a place is like mostly Reese's stuff.
And I guess on television, it's mostly Reese's commercials, isn't it? Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Hershey owned them.
Yeah.
So, for them to have something that's more popular than their original product.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, I don't know if Hershey originally made it and, or it was originally made by someone else. That company went bust, but Hershey bought them, and continued to produce the peanut butter cups. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not shocked at all by...
So everybody sent in all their favorite, chocolate bars, Hershey's Cookies and Cream, Milky Ways, Snickers, Twix. And there was a lot of confusion over whether Twix was American or British. So we had a lot of people sending in Twix as their favorite American candy bar. It's actually British. If you guys listen to our what was it, a candy podcast?
It was a candy podcast, yeah. I think back when this started.
So we included
Twix was invented by Mars, which is an American company, but it was invented in the UK. It was like they branched off and they had a Mars UK.
Yeah.
So they invented the Mars bar in Slough, in their Slough factory, and Twix was invented there. So it was invented on UK soil.
So we included it in the UK bracket.
And introduced there. And then it was imported over here in the late 70s and then became a hit.
Three Musketeers, Hershey's Special Dark Chocolate, Snickers Almond Bar. Like, there was just so many variations. Almond Joys, whatchamacallit. That was a really interesting one. Yeah, like one you never ever think of. Because personally, another one that nobody ever thinks of that I really like is the 100 Grand Bar.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good chocolate bar, you guys. It's like so good.
I only see that in like Dollar Tree and places like that.
It's like really old fashioned. It's been around a long time.
Yeah, you know.
You kind of almost wonder how they even stay in business.
It's so funny because, like it's a really old fashioned. Like chocolate in the UK, if it's old-fashioned, it's gone. It's not there around anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't get produced. And the stuff that's still being produced, I mean...
Well, Baby Ruth, that's another old candy bar that's been around a long time. I mean, clearly, it's named after Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
But people, I think, still eat it because they still sell it. Butterfinger was another one that was mentioned a few times.
Named after John Butterfinger.
Heath bars.
Senator of Illinois.
Heath bars, Reese's Nutrageous. And then we also had something... HU brand paleo chocolate.
Oh, yeah,
and cashew butter bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had,
which won everything.
The suggestions were just all over the place. So we had to just kind of pick out the most mentioned ones, which we did. And then on the British side, people were suggesting all kinds of things also that were not British, like the Kinder Bueno.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see what else.
Kinder Bueno.
Unfortunately, I think we have more American listeners than we have British listeners. Yeah. So we did get several times, I've never tried British chocolate. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think that once some of them saw things like Cadbury and Twix in the suggestions, they were able to vote because obviously we do have those things over here. They were like, oh, okay, yeah. But we got suggestions like Aero, Twirl.
Which is another Cadbury product.
Crunchy. Oh, so many Cadbury products were mentioned. Cadbury Whole Nut, Crunchy Bars Double Decker, Curly Whirly. Yeah, it's like everything Cadbury
Curly Whirly. Curly Whirly is Cadbury.
Yeah, Curly Whirly.
And Double Decker.
And Crunchy, right?
Crunchy, yeah.
So, Cadbury had quite an advantage.
Yeah, it was quite an advantage over everything else.
Really, as far as British chocolate. There's really... They have a monopoly in Britain over chocolate, don't they?
Yeah, Nestle have a big thing, and the Mars Company too, the Mars Company, though, is...
What else does Mars do in Britain?
Mars bars.
And Mars and... Nobody
Milky
suggested
Way.
a Mars bar.
No, I think Milky Way is Mars. It's not Nestle. But Milky Way is different because the Milky Way over here that's sold in the US is basically a Mars bar in Britain.
Yeah, and the Three Musketeers over here
is like a Milky Way, but it's a little bit different because the Three Musketeers is like a strawberry kind of like cream fill, isn't it?
No, it's just nougat.
Is it? It's got a weird taste to it.
No,
and I think it's kind of like food colored.
No, it's just
a little
nougat.
bit.
It's just nougat.
Because the Milky Way, it's lighter and fluffier. Yeah, we'll have to get all those bars and taste test them for a video one day.
Anyway, so the American bracket came down to Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. I was surprised. Apparently Dominic wasn't that surprised. I thought it was going to be Snickers. And the British bracket came down to Cadbury Dairy Milk.
Which is the original bar.
Yeah, so that was kind of... I was not surprised about that one, were you?
1901? No, I wasn't surprised. No, like... Everyone loves that one.
We did get... Throughout this thing, guys... You all were sending us messages on Instagram, just commenting on the various, the various polls we're running. We were running a poll every single day. If you guys are not following us on Instagram, you're missing out. We are at TButty, TEABUTTY. We do fun stuff like this a lot, so be sure to go over and follow us. But we were getting messages every day from you guys, just annoyed about, the two that were going up against each other that day, or with questions about different things or whatever. But yeah, so some people were not really that impressed by just a plain old chocolate bar. They thought it was kind of boring. We didn't choose the ones that were up against each other. You guys chose.
Yeah, it was all up to you.
We just picked the ones that were mentioned the most,
If you didn't like them, vote them out.
and then just started pitting them against each other until we came down to one. So today, the day that we're recording this, was the very last day. It was the end of the competition. It was the British winner, which was Cadbury Dairy Milk, versus the American winner, which was Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Yeah.
And do we want to announce the winner?
Drum
roll, please.
Drum roll.
And the winner was...
And the winner is... The winner.
chocolate bar competition / World Cup of Chocolate is...
Dairy Milk. 60% to 40%. Yep. And, we had a bit of controversy because a few people wrote in going, wait a minute, I got confused.
Dominic tried to trick people.
And I thought, usually it should go with, and Erica said, oh, you've bamboozled them all. And you need to put up and see if anybody wanted. But everybody said their vote was legit.
Yeah.
So.
Which I don't understand, because we did get a few messages that were like, oh, I hit the wrong one because I didn't realize you had the name wasn't with the picture. Whatever. Yeah. So he ran a poll asking, did you want to re-vote? Did you want to recount the votes?
Stop the count. Stop the count, everybody.
Or was your original vote legitimate? And everybody said their original vote was legitimate. So, if there's any question as to the true winner, there shouldn't be, because we asked everybody if it was good.
Yeah, and they said it was good. So, the result is Cadbury Dairy Milk is the winner of the ultimate chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Cadbury, take a bow.
I mean... How do we feel about this? How do you feel?
Well, I feel pretty good, because, I...
Is that your ultimate chocolate bar?
I think so.
In the whole... Well, not in the whole world.
Galaxy is pretty good. Galaxy, which is Dove chocolate over here, that's pretty good.
We had Dove chocolate, didn't we, in the competition?
That got knocked out pretty early on. But that's a good chocolate bar, but yeah, Cadbury is the good go-to. Hershey, Hershey chocolate bar, nah, no one likes that.
No one even chose that. We had like a couple votes for Hershey Special Dark Chocolate, but nobody, I don't think, not that I can remember, nobody sent in a regular old Hershey bar. Poor Hershey.
Poor Hershey. They need to change their recipe to make it so it doesn't taste like vomit.
But yeah, I don't know if it's my ultimate chocolate bar, like between all of British chocolate and all of American chocolate, but out of those two... Well,
you like a good double-decker, didn't you? That's your favorite.
That's my favorite British, probably. I do. I love Cadbury Dairy Milk. I mean, you can't go wrong, but...
Yeah, you had a little Cadbury Dairy Milk. I remember I bought a big bar of it when we went back over there a few years ago. I went and bought like a big bar of Cadbury's caramel, Dairy Milk caramel, and a big bar of Cadbury's Dairy Milk. And I left them on the thing, and I went downstairs and I did something, and... I came back up and both bars were opened and 2 squares had been taken from each. And you were just like, I got hungry, so I needed a piece of chocolate.
I was working and I couldn't be bothered to go downstairs to eat, thank you very much. So I just ate some of your chocolate because it was sitting there looking at me.
I've got my little piece of chocolate.
Do you agree, is Cadbury Dairy Milk your ultimate chocolate bar? Out of British and American chocolate, out of all the chocolate options, is Cadbury Dairy Milk your favorite? Let us know. Or was Reese's Peanut Butter Cups robbed?
Was it robbed?
I don't think it was robbed, no.
I don't think it was, no.
I think Snickers was robbed. Snickers is my favorite American
Snickers, what's going
bar.
on? Maybe people think it's an old-fashioned bar
Maybe.
Now. You're going to be talking to kids and they'll be like, what's Snickers?
Oh that's no! Old. I'll be so sad if Snickers goes away one day. But, they had that really funny campaign, like, you're just not yourself.
I love a Snickers bar.
Grab a Snickers,
I think it was my grand's favorite too, actually. Although she did like Milk Tray and all that, which was Cadbury's.
Yeah.
It was a selection box of chocolates.
I think my mom said Lindt. Lindt was her favorite. It's like, well, guess what, hun? It's not Lindt is not British or American. Yeah.
German and
she's
Swiss
like, I vote
chocolate.
for Lindt. I vote for Lindt truffles. Thank you very much. Like, no, sorry.
Lindt's another good one, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway,
I think we've talked you guys' ear off today.
Talked your heads off.
And maybe possibly annoyed you with the sound of the fan. I don't know.
I don't think it's that annoying. I don't think people can hear us.
Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in. Let us know if you checked out any of the Queen's Jubilee over this
let us
past
know what
weekend.
you thought.
Yeah, what you thought about it. Do you think Louis is cute or a brat? And let us know your favorite chocolate bar if you think your favorite chocolate bar was robbed or if you agree
with Dairy
robbed? Milk.
And I don't
we'll talk to you next time.
We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.